All right, hello. Welcome to the Right Brain Warm-Up. So this is the show that will help you retrain your brain to be more creative in 30 minutes. So today I've got three wonderful guests to talk about the importance of creativity, particularly in this crazy world that we're living in. And I'm your host, Alex Wadelton, who is co-author of the book, The Right Brain Workout. So obviously trying to encourage people to be more creative. The three guests first, as you can see up there, is Priya, Namana, like banana. So I've got it right. We've got Nigel Camilleri down there below, waving hello, and we've got Ed Bejervaisi as well. Three amazingly creative people. I'm just going to read out a little bit of a spiel about each one. So we're going to hear about them. We can hear about their tips for being creative more every day, and what things maybe you can take into your life, why they're creative, and maybe even a bit about who their creative heroes are. But first, Priya. So I'll just read this out. Priya is a contemporary artist with a practice based in video and installation around feminist, posthuman theories and liminal spaces. For the last 4 years, she has been the project producer and director for Polyglot Theatre's 5678 Film Club, where she has collaborated with over 20 filmmakers and artists to activate and be led by the imaginations of young people to create short-form content that inspires the next stage in their lives, all while finishing her master's at BCA in contemporary art. So she's clearly putting every one of us to shame. That's bloody amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
I'll catch you guys later.
Right. Next, we'll talk to Nigel. Nigel has had the privilege to travel the world and work with some fascinating people, from Andre Agassi in Las Vegas, Gabriel Marte, and a variety of athletes, artists, and high school students, each with a unique story to tell. Creating these connections is what he loves most about what he does, whether that comes to life in a documentary, TV series, photograph, or vertical banner ad with no sound. Thanks for coming on, Nigel. And finally, Ed. Ed is a creative strategist and creative director, currently working with the Icon Agency, and is a practicing abstract artist under the urban art pseudonym Unwell Bunny. He has exhibited his artwork in a number of cities around the world, and he's had 8 solo shows in Melbourne and Paris. He's an amazing artist. That's one of your pieces in the background, isn't it, Ed?
It is, yeah. I've kind of fitted out the home office to not feel so strange.
Yeah, I think we're all trying to do that. We're all struggling
That's
a lot.
where art has help.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, thank everyone for joining us. So I wanted to start with the first question. I'm going to ask you, Priya, and then hopefully you guys maybe just join in. So the first question I've got is, what is creativity to you?
It's a really good question. Thank you, Alex. It feels like it's such a big question and quite a difficult one to answer really sometimes. I think I would like to, because of all the strange things that are going on at the moment, I think it's important to preface my answer by saying that I think it can be answered in a lot of different ways, and the meaning of it also shifts based on the different contexts and the varying levels of privilege that we all exist in as well. And at the moment, I think that's particularly heightened because of all the vulnerable people out there who are feeling this. So I just want to acknowledge my creative practice as a privilege that I have. And I think also want to acknowledge that I don't, and maybe you'll agree with me, I don't think creativity has anything to do with originality. I think that's a bit of a weird thing because we're all sort of drawing from same cultural basis. So creativity, I think for me, is a language. And I think it's a way, it's a language that we can use to communicate our experiences and respond to our environments viscerally. It has its own rules, rhythms, and colloquialisms once you get to understand it. And we definitely need to learn it and not forget it as well. I think it's all about practicing it. So I think that's where creativity sort of sits for me.
So it's kind of like you're taking all your influences and then it's the old thing, standing on the shoulders of giants, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nigel, what is creativity to you?
It's a funny question because I, growing up, I really never considered myself to be creative because to me, creativity was always about, playing an instrument or being able to draw or paint or do anything like that, which I have zero skills in any of those regards. So it probably wouldn't have been until I reckon I was about 24 that I actually realised that I actually am quite a creative person, but it comes from problem solving. Mm-hmm. And that's where I've sort of really have sometimes a bit of a perverse enjoyment of things going wrong because I like to fix problems. And the way you do that and the constraints that you've got on different jobs or different projects or just in life is actually where I find that I'm actually quite a creative guy.
Yeah, it's interesting because some people say creativity and you think it is art or it is drawing and movies and stuff, but there is just solving problems can be its own creativity, absolutely, can't it? Like scientists are sometimes the most creative people in the world.
100%, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing for me, and that's probably where a lot of my inspiration. I'm still inspired by the things I see and the things I do, but it's actually people from out of left field that you go, how did you come up with that? Like that is amazing. You just, to me, that's where I find that there's creativity, because otherwise I sit here with other amazing people that have written books and created, visual art and, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I can't do any of that. So, you feel a bit of an imposter, but yeah, problem solving for me.
Awesome. Ed?
Well, I mean, I think creativity has always been incredibly hard to sort of pin down, and I've never really heard any one person sort of explain it in a way that I think is kind of like really singular. But I like to think of it as like the lateral version of kind of like getting something right. So like logic helps us get something right, and that's sort of in the kind of proven method of what already is. But on the lateral side, it's completely unknown. So really, what we're working with like lots of different lateral sort of pinpoints to generate something that doesn't quite make sense yet. So I think creativity is kind of lateral problem solving. I mean, you talked about problem solving before. I think absolutely it's problem solving, but it's also visioneering. So like, you have to have a vision first and then figure out how you can kind of move towards it. So yeah, like lateral thinking and lateral application problem solving is sort of the way I like to think about it, I suppose.
And maybe go to you, Nigel. Why did you decide to get into creativity as a kind of role when you didn't see yourself as creative? Like, how did you all get into doing what you're doing?
I think it just happened a bit organically, because I just sort of was drawn towards the advertising industry initially. That was my kind of way in, and then I sort of started to go, this is actually quite cool. Like, whether it's creating videos, there was actually things that I always enjoyed in my life that I hadn't really considered until later. I was always running around with handy cams and making little films and things like that. So taking photos and stuff. So, but then it just kind of evolved from there. And then, like I said, other people actually started going, oh, that's a great idea. Or what do you think of this? I was like, oh, that's kind of good. And then I sort of felt vindicated, and it kind of went from there, that I thought maybe I am good at this. I just had to think of it differently. I had to think creatively about being what it was to be creative in some ways. So, and yeah, I mean, like you said, Priya, so privileged. I feel so privileged to be able to be in this kind of environment, like where you really have no bounds. Like your imagination is the only thing that holds you back, which is really important, like in times like this as well, when business is changing. So you need to think differently. So
awesome. Ed, how did you get into this whole shebang bang?
Well, I've never been very good at anything else, so that was like that was a bit of a conditioning right from the get-go. I mean, like I've got both my parents are architects, and my grandpa's a scientist. He was a physicist, and my grandma was a scientist as well, and she ended up being a PhD in art. And but I think basically, like, I got two sides of the two lateral sides of my mum and my dad. And so when I was at school, I just wasn't very good at being logical. And that was like, at that time, it was really problematic, because I think creativity still is not quite understood in terms of like where it fits traditionally.
It's hard to measure, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And especially like in the education system, I think it's still not, like, we're talking about it still at a bit of a nebulous level, but like, I don't think it's fully understood in terms of its application. And when I went through school, it definitely wasn't understood. So I was completely misunderstood. And yet I did have these talents that seemed to kind of compensate for what I couldn't do on the logical side. So yeah, that's how I got into it. I couldn't do anything else as well as I could do, you know, things like draw or write funny things, or like communicate differently about things, and, you know, through drama and that kind of thing. So yeah, I just happened to kind of like keep going in that area, and I got more accepted as I got older, basically. Yeah.
Because you started in street art, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, like in terms of the art side of things, like I started doing graffiti essentially like earlier high school, about a year 8, and that was like that was just like it was just a pure outlet at the time. Like I was doing quite well in art class, but I always had this kind of idea of like, you know, I exist, therefore I am. So it's like I just wanted to get out there and put something up to say, I don't know where I fit, or if, you know, if this is what I'm meant to do, but I'm going to do it. So that's how the kind of art application side of things started. It started off as like a bit of a rebellious sort of idea, and it's matured out of that, I suppose.
Yeah, awesome. And Priya, you got a similar story? That's just what you did.
Actually, no. I grew up in India, and I had a science background mostly. Okay. I was sort of training to go down the medical, you know, pathway, and turned out I was just really good at drawing. I was doing a lot of botanical illustrations for study, and I just enjoyed that so much. And in Asian, at the time, Asian culture, art is always just a hobby. So it was never considered a career pathway. But when I sort of realized how much I enjoyed the drawing aspect of different scientific studies that I was doing, my mother, who's a painter, but always as a hobby, she's a teacher, and my dad's a retired colonel in the army. So we didn't really have an artistic sort of family, but they had their pursuits as a side thing. They sort of started looking at different pathways for me, and design was one of the things they thought was a good compromise. So if I was given that as a choice, so I sort of started studying design and kept up the practice of drawing and painting as a hobby. And I think when I was old enough to make my own decisions and choices, I decided I just wanted to pursue the creative path as a career, and then I just went down to see where it would land me.
Yeah, cool. And you're obviously just happy you made that choice, eh?
Very happy, yeah. No, I mean, at times like this, sometimes you go, oh, maybe being a doctor might have been all right. But, you know, no, I'm very, very glad that it's been very rewarding.
Well, interesting you're saying at times like this. What do you think, all of you, what do you reckon creativity has to offer the world when we're all in lockdown and stuff? What can creativity do in any way?
I think like I'll jump in. Sorry, like last week I didn't know. Like last week, you know, you kind of like, it's almost like you're going through a sense of loss. You know, you're going, oh my God, I can't you know, go and see my friends or go and interact with people. But then this week I kind of came through that and started like realizing how much opportunity there is now out of this. You know, it's like so much has sort of been stripped away in terms of like what we can't do, but there's so much kind of creative entrepreneurialism that can be applied to what we can do in kind of like a quarantine economy. So yeah, my mind just started to get quite kind of sort of proactive about all of that, and I've already sort of started writing some things about it. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot that we can apply creativity to right now. In fact, we're probably right at the, you know, at the solutions end, being creative professionals. So you know, it'd be interesting to see how that unfolds. Well,
it seems like we're doing this right now because it's like, got time on my hands, got to do something. Like, let's try and do something. Let's try and get people together. And people will watch it and go, oh yeah, let's do it. Because later on, we're going to do a right brain question. Hopefully you guys will come up with some crazy answers. And then hopefully people watching will come up with some crazy answers. And at least it'll be a few minutes where we're not thinking about the virus and doomsday. There might be a bit of positivity.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like digital ideas will just start sprouting from everywhere, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what we're lucky with the technology nowadays. So, Priya?
I just want to jump in to say it's fascinating what you said about the sense of loss, Ed, because I think there was that grief as well, and which is a collective thing. It's so compounded by everything that's going on, that everywhere around the world, everyone's feeling this, but everyone's also naturally, quite organically turning to creativity. And usually when, I think even the videos from Spain and Italy that are coming out, which is all activating these creative artistic spaces, which it brings comfort as well. And being creative is like, even with what you were saying, Nigel, about going on like problem solving, it's just sort of going on adventures in your own mind. It's quite, and to stay with that space and your imagination in your homes in a quarantine economy is just an incredible thing, and something awesome can come out of it at the other end.
Yeah, it's right. You're seeing lots of families doing like circuit training at home and stuff, just inventing exercise equipment and stuff, but just having fun doing that. It's actually probably going to maybe bring a lot of families closer together, hopefully, because they're going to have time to actually be together rather than mum or dad's working back late at work, or it's homeworks for 5 hours and we've got to go to this sport and this sport. Well, maybe we'll just stay in together and hopefully don't tear each other apart. That's obviously, hopefully we get past that. Anyway, Nigel, what do you think creativity can offer now?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, Priya said it, you've seen it, I'm fascinated by what businesses are doing right now. I've been talking to a lot of mates that are in small business owners and that as well, just seeing how they're coping with this, how they're like looking at it, how they're pivoting. There's actually in a situation that is so full of negativity and panic and concern, there's actually a lot of hope as well. And I sort of was talking to my business partner this morning. I said, this is an opportunity for like humanity to evolve, like really, but also we're all evolving, because everyone I know is kind of going, well, all right, how do I do what I did before better? How can I learn something new? How can I, even for us, I'm like, how can I be less dispensable as a human?
And also, like, how can I stop buying stuff I don't need all the time, potentially?
I mean, that's a thing. And I think, there will be a lot of positives. We've touched on them, as well, like just people working from home more productively, how that can help, stay-at-home mums, other people, part-timers, what's the impact on the environment? This is fascinating that there hasn't been more talk about that right now, which I'm really interested in understanding more. It's all just doom and gloom and all the rest of it that I think, again, there's all those things that are really positive. They don't necessarily all lend themselves to creativity, but I'm trying to remain really positive, and I think the more we can do that, the more we come out of it better at the other end. Yeah, awesome.
Have you got like any creative heroes that you guys like turn to inspiration in these times, or just in general, who like inspire you? So people might watch it and go, oh, I didn't know about that person. Maybe I'll go and Google it because I've got the time on my hands now. Priya?
I have to say it's really, I feel like in my own network, there are amazing artists that I know who are extremely inspiring, and I just love their work so much. And they're good friends. And so I'm not sure if that's okay to say. I have this amazing, really close friend, Archie Barry, who is a contemporary artist, and they do incredible work. And they just have this amazing capacity to just hold time still in general. And it's a performing arts based practice, and just talking to them is just always been so inspiring to me. So Archie is one of the people, but also Sally Lurie, another friend of mine who's a poet and a performing arts based person as well, extremely passionate and just such an incredibly inspiring individual. She's also amazing. They're both Melbourne based and have incredible body of work behind them. But also when I was at the Venice Biennale last year, and I just discovered this artist who was incredible, Khalil Joseph. I'm not sure if you guys know Khalil Joseph and Arthur Jaffa. And there was a work that they had in the pavilion there, in the International Pavilion, called Black News, which was just so simple. It was just a 2-channel video where they'd cut together YouTube videos, all about to do with race in America and the problematics around race, and had cut it together as a montage and presented it as a work. It was just this looped work, which I just sat there for hours, and it made me cry, and it was just so moving. But they were just YouTube videos that you've seen and come across that were viral, that have been put together in a certain way. Yeah, and it was interesting. Arthur Jaffa, I think, is from the ad world, and originally they pitched it to lots of different clients in New York, in America, as a news channel that should be hosted on TV or in some other way, and they got turned down by all of them. So they decided to make it as an artwork, and it just went.
It's more pure that way, isn't it? Well, maybe afterwards you can email me some links or something, and when I put the video up, maybe people can go and click on them and investigate. It might be cool.
Of course, yeah.
Sounds amazing. Ed?
I mean, I have lots of visual artists that I kind of always sort of pivoting around, but then other kind of like conceptual thinkers Edward de Bono. I've actually started reading his book again. I've got it here. Serious Creativity. So that might be backwards, but that's a really hard book to read because it's like I got halfway through it and I had to stop because it's like it's really theoretical. But it's a great book. I mean, some of his like explanations on creativity are amazing. But like every time I read a chapter, I have to kind of like let it kind of percolate because it's quite an abstract sort of unpacking of creativity. And then
what's interesting about that, the whole thing, that creativity, it's that greyness, isn't it? It's not just yes or no, it is. And sometimes that's what some of the great art is, that you'll see something, you go, oh, that was good. And then the week later, you're like, oh, hang on, that's got depth that I hadn't, it just seeks through, which can be awesome.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is that like it's constantly kind of expanding. So, you know, creative ideas are, you know, like something gets made and it's made in that time, and then it can be expanded on. So what I like about Edward de Bono's work is it's all kind of like one thing leads to the next thing. So, you know, that's why I really like his approach to creativity. He kind of like, it's sort of a never-ending idea, which, you know, I'm sure he'll keep writing books until, you know, his brain stops, basically.
What about you, Nigel?
I'll use one writer, Alex Wadelton.
No.
Genius.
I've heard he's a real knobhead. I don't like him. I've heard a lot of bad things about him.
Well, I think I gain inspiration. It's a bit like if someone said, "Oh, what's your favourite song?" Like, or your favourite band? I get inspiration from everything. Like I didn't, and I'd probably say if I was distilling it down without naming names, it's people that just reinvent themselves in terms of just try something different, and maybe they haven't gone down this certain angle before, and they try something different, and then you're like, wow, that was amazing that they went and did that. Especially this day and age, I think there'll be a lot of great people that come out of this that will sort of maybe hold up. But also just, you know, like you said, Priya, there's these other guys that they just wanted to do something, they got knocked back, but they just went and did it anyway. Like, and that's so inspiring for me. It's like, you know,
I find that
the only thing that holds you.
It's almost, it's the easy bit is the coming up with the ideas. It's going and making it. That's the real hard bit. That's the really exciting bit when you work through things that are really hard. So yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, you're just held back by yourself so many times. You know, it's and I think that often you can easily just go, oh, that's a good idea, but I don't know, have to do this, have to do that. You know, sometimes just talk to other people about it, and then someone will be like, oh, I know a mate that does this and that. And all of a sudden, you're on the path to doing something, and I find that's great. So always inspired by those people that don't kind of take no for an answer.
I've found as well, like as I've got older, I used to always hide my ideas, and now I just share them with everyone, because when you share it, people go, oh, I know this person, oh, this will make it better. And it's a good way to collaborate with people. Now I know we're about maybe running short on time, so I might just get to the right brain question. So hopefully you guys got a pen and paper ready. So the question is, which people hopefully at home will do as well, is this is question 28 from the Right Brain Workout, from the book that me and Russell Howcroft put together with a bunch of creative, clever people. This question is, invent a new breakfast cereal that excludes anything edible, and then create a name and catchphrase for it. All right, your time starts now. I'm going to try and play some background music in the background here. I'll see if I can get this to work. Sorry about technology here, but you guys can mute me if you want, but I'll find the music. Thinking music, here we go.
Do we need to tell you what's in it?
There we go. You can do whatever you want.
What the ingredients are?
Yeah, absolutely. So that question was written by Ryan Clayton, who is an advertising copywriter. No, he's a designer actually, and yeah, he's a top bloke. So yeah, have a think about that. Breakfast cereal that would be excluding anything edible, and a name and a catchphrase. I remember reading a book a while back, this advertising book, which was Hey Whipple Squeeze This, and this is Sky. He wrote this book, and when he was 12 years old, he came up with a cereal which was not 100% sugar, because that's what you end up with, just with a toy in it, because every cereal, the older you get, the more and more sugar got put into every cereal. That's how bad we are in the world. Hopefully you can hear that music.
It's good. It's really relaxing.
I should do some dance moves just to entertain people. Do some dabbing. Yeah. Going off like a frog in a sock here. Now, I made this music last night, and I have got it so it starts to ramp up in intensity as the time runs out. So we'll see if it puts you off.
How long do we have?
I think we're almost. How are you guys going? Let me know if you're happy. All right. Everyone's working away. Everyone's right-handed, so that's interesting.
I'm ambidextrous.
You're happy. Very good. See, look, hear the music? It's moving on now. Time's running out. Tick, 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 tick. Right, how about we give you another 20 seconds?
Yep.
Out of the slap bass now. Hopefully everyone at home has come out with a good answer to design a cereal that excludes anything edible with a name and a catchphrase for it. Hey, you guys going all right?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to pause the music. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's hear it. Who's up ready to first to say a new breakfast cereal that excludes anything edible with a name and a catchphrase for it? Who wants to be first?
I'll jump in, Alex.
All right, go for it.
Mine's slightly apocalyptic, yep. So sorry about that.
It's all right.
Every time I look out the window, I see these cars going past, and I'm kind of like I'm hoping that you know, we keep seeing those as we go further into lockdown, because like when I look at the tram stop outside, like there's no people out there, so that's like slightly depressing. So my idea is cars for brekkie, and it's just look out the window. Hopefully you see some. slightly abstract, slightly morbid. But,
That's awesome. If there's cars going by, it means you know the human race is alive.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Priya, are you ready?
That's too good. I don't want to follow that.
At least you guys can draw.
So I just wrote.
That's all good.
Came up with like a script kind of thing. Okay, so my thing was I sort of went, you know, that John Cage thing where there's a set of rules that he has and the last rule is break all the rules.
Yeah.
So I sort of went, let's not think about breakfast at all, like cereal. It's about nothing edible, so it already goes out of the way. And breakfast is about metabolizing, you know, you're starting the day. So this is creative metabolism. So it's a performing arts based thing. And I went with, you know how with the ideas, you're always told that don't go with the first idea.
Yep.
Just keep going and keep going. And so I just went with my first 5 images that came to my head. If I just thought about random things and I wrote them down. And then based on that, I've come up with this
awesome.
Thing. So the first image, for some strange reason, was an A-frame ladder.
So you can see the cars maybe over the fence.
Maybe. Well, I thought, okay, so then yellow pages.
Yeah.
Then yellow pages led to what can I do with the yellow pages? So scissors came to mind straight away. Yep. And then I thought, cutting up yellow pages, all the different names and putting them in a bowl.
Amazing. You've gone all William F. Burroughs on us. It's great.
and then old school phone. Like, you know, the ones that you have to dial, like the round thing.
I think the only ones still that they make of those are toys. The kids have no idea what they are.
Well, this is a functional phone.
Yep.
Let's just in imaginations.
Yep.
So basically, and there's a suitcase that you put all this stuff into, except for the A-frame ladder. We carry that with us. So you can take it anywhere you want, put the ladder up, climb up the ladder, sit up there, cut up the yellow pages, and then your phone has a connection. So you can call people about what they're eating for breakfast.
Yeah.
And if you get hungry, then you can actually order yourself breakfast. And because the yellow pages, for some reason, I thought the name could be either Coldplay, with Coldplay's blessing, they were all yellow.
Yeah.
And catchphrase, breakfast with a view.
Oh, lovely. Very good. Excellent. I love it. I'm buying some. Get me some. All right, Nigel.
That's good. Well, I have no skills in drawing or anything like that, so I'll just
welcome to the club.
So it doesn't help. That's so good. So my I was thinking about like I was saying before, with this current state of affairs, like how the positive impacts on the environment. So I've went down a slightly environmental skew. So this product is basically full of recycled materials. We can't tell exactly what's. It's a bit like the Colonel, secret herbs and spices. We can't tell you exactly what's in it, but it's all recycled, which is great. It's going to be called "Are You Cereal?" With the question mark, of course.
Of course.
And this tagline is something along the lines of "Good for the planet, but good for you," with the question mark again.
That's genius. I love it. I'm going down to the shop for my gloves and mask and asking for that next time I go. Love it. That's great. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, guys. It's been awesome. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope people at home have enjoyed it. So that's the end of the Right Brain warm-up. Comment with your answers if you're watching. Like the video. Do all the things social that people talk about that I have no idea. My kids talk about it. Hit the sub button. Is that something that people do? I have no idea what that means. Anyway, until next time, thanks to Priya, thanks to Nigel, thanks to Ed. Hope you all have a lovely day. And when in doubt, turn to your right side. Have a good one.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, mate. See you guys.
Legends.